Meet Sarah, 19 years old, a freshman at a sprawling university, a place buzzing with the energy of 10,000 futures. Outwardly, she was a perfect student, diligent and quiet. But inwardly, Sarah was lost in a vast, empty landscape of profound loneliness. It's a strange paradox to be surrounded by thousands and yet feel completely invisible. This was Sarah's daily reality. In the crowded student union, she was a ghost, watching the easy laughter and effortless connections of others. They were constellations of belonging. She was a solitary star, light years away. Every day was a performance. She'd put on a mask of calm indifference, a carefully constructed shield to hide the ache in her chest. She'd find a corner in the library, not just to study, but to have a legitimate reason to be alone, to make her solitude look like a choice. It was easier than admitting the truth, that she was desperately, painfully lonely and had no idea how to fix it. This feeling hadn't appeared overnight. It was a slow creep. In high school, she'd had friends, but in this new, overwhelming world, the old rules didn't apply. The first few weeks were a blur of awkward introductions and conversations that dissipated like smoke. She watched other girls in her dorm form instant bonds, their doors always open. Sarah's door remained closed, not by choice, but by a fear of rejection so strong it felt like a physical wall. So she stayed inside, listening to the muffled sounds of a life she wasn't part of. She tried, of course. She joined the photography club, but remained an observer on the edge of the group. In the dining hall, she'd scan the room for a friendly face, but only saw closed circles, so she'd eat quickly. Her eyes fixed on a book, pretending her solitude was a choice. It was a lie that tasted like ash. The loneliness became a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more she withdrew, the more invisible she became, a spiral into a darkness she didn't understand. Her grades slipped. How could she focus on calculus when her own emotional equation was so unbalanced? The days blurred into a monotonous cycle of solitude. The vibrant campus faded to grey, a movie she was watching on mute. At night, the whispers began, "What's wrong with me? Why is it so easy for everyone else? Am I just unlovable?" The whispers became a deafening roar. She stopped calling her parents as often. Their cheerful questions were like daggers. It was easier to send short, non-committal texts. "Everything's fine." Every word was a betrayal. One Tuesday evening, she reached her breaking point. The weight on her chest was a physical pressure, the quiet of her room a tomb. With a chilling sense of calm, she made a decision. If she couldn't find a thread to hold onto in the tapestry of life, then maybe she didn't belong in it at all. She wrote goodbye letters, her tears staining the ink. One to her parents, one to her roommate, one to the world. A neat little pile of heartbreak. Then she put on her coat and walked out into the night. The campus was different after dark, the familiar paths cast in eerie shadows. The silence mirrored the emptiness inside her. She walked toward the old stone bridge, a landmark for photos and lovers. Tonight for Sarah, it was an exit. Each step was a lifetime. She reached the middle of the bridge and looked down at the dark, swirling water. It looked cold, final. The end of the pain, the end of the loneliness. She climbed onto the ledge, the wind whipping at her hair, a mournful sound. She closed her eyes, took a deep, shuddering breath and prepared to let go. But in that moment, something shifted. A vast, impossible shadow fell over her, too large, too sudden, too present. Her eyes snapped open. There, walking beside the bridge, was a figure of immense scale, a giant, outlined by a soft, golden light. He wore simple, modern clothes, but his every movement was grace and power. He wasn't looking at the campus or the sky. He was looking at her. He knelt, a slow, deliberate movement, until his face was level with the bridge. And Sarah saw his eyes. They were ancient and ageless, holding all the love and sorrow of the universe. There was no judgment, no anger, no disappointment, only a profound, healing compassion. He didn't speak, but a voice filled her mind, a feeling, a deep, resonant truth. "I know your pain, little one. I have been here all along." And suddenly, her life flashed before her, rewritten. In the dining hall, he was in the empty chair. In the bathroom stall, his hand was on the door. In her lonely room, he was a silent, watchful protector. Every lonely moment, he had been there, a fellow traveler, a burden sharer. She had thought she was invisible, but she had been seen. She had thought she was unloved, but she had been cherished. The revelation was a tidal wave, washing away the years of self-doubt. The tears came again, not of sorrow, but of release, of coming home. She climbed down from the ledge, her feet firm on the bridge. The giant nodded, a silent affirmation of her choice to live. Sarah walked back to her dorm, the journey different. The shadows were just shadows, the silence peaceful. She could still feel his presence beside her, a towering guardian. Back in her room, she tore up the goodbye letters, artifacts of a life no longer hers. She opened her laptop and wrote not of despair, but of hope. She wrote of a love so immense it could span a river and a soul. She wrote of a giant who walks with the lonely, who sees the invisible, and who whispers, "You are not alone." The next morning, Sarah walked into the dining hall and saw a girl sitting by herself, a mirror of her own past pain. This time she didn't see a reflection. She saw an opportunity. She walked over, her heart pounding but her steps steady. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her voice clear and kind. "Because when you know you're never alone, you can help others see they aren't either. The giant who walks with you walks with everyone. You just have to open your eyes."